Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy. And thanks for joining us today, October 26th, on No Greater Delight, our podcast on Marian feasts and Marian meditations. Well, to start us off, again, we have many feasts today to celebrate. We recall, for instance, here, Notre Dame des Victoires in Senlis in France, Our Lady of Victories. We're told that this is, there's also a basilica in Paris and a church in Quebec with this name. And they celebrate the dedication on this day. It took place in 1225 by Wherein, the Bishop of Senlis and Chancellor of France. This abbey was built by Philip Augustus in thanksgiving for his victory which he gained over the Emperor Otho IV at Bovine in 1214. Very wonderful there. Also, in Cartagena and Murcia in Spain, they celebrate La Virgen del Amor Hermoso, the Virgin of Beautiful Love, right? So the story goes like this. In 1946, the local sculptor Juan González Moreno made the statue of the Virgin of Beautiful Love for one of the brotherhoods there in Cartagena in southeastern Spain. It's true that they celebrate Our Lady's feast day on May 31st, but her great moment in the port city comes on Easter Sunday, because all the dramatic events of Holy Week draw to an emotional conclusion as this brotherhood carries the Virgin's elaborate processional throne into the church of Santa Maria, while the crowd sings a very special salve. And you might be saying, okay, well, so if they celebrated the 31st, why is it October 26th? What does that have to do with anything? Well, it was on October 26, 2003, that the president of the Catholic University of Murcia and his wife stood as the godparents when the Virgin of Beautiful Love received a magnificent crown donated by the university and the city of Cartagena. In Notre Dame, in Prigny, in Saint-Bernard, in Ile-de-France, in France, we recall that a black virgin restored a stillborn infant to life in 1662, long enough to be baptized. Also important today, they celebrate Santa Maria della Vittoria in San Vito de' Normanni in Bari in Italy, right? So that means Our Lady of Victory, right? So you might say, okay, well, what's that have to do with anything? Well, it was today, October 26th, in 1996, that Pope St. John Paul II crowned in the Vatican the image of Our Lady, it says, Mother of God Nicopoye, Our Lady of Victory, which is found in the Church of Santa Maria della Vittoria in Puglia, right? So it was on this day in 96 that JP2 crowned the icon. Obviously, they brought the icon to the Vatican for this ceremony. So they call it, again, Santa Maria della Vittoria. And it's beautiful because in the city there in San Vito de' Normanni, they call it simply the Mother Church, right? So you can see this very beautiful image of the Nicopoia, like the Our Lady, it means the one who brings victory, right? Which represents a lady who told Pope Pius V the victory of Our Lady over the Turks. And there's also a golden statue in that church that represents San Vito, right? The story goes that at the Battle of Lepanto, which took place again October 7th, 1571, there was a group of soldiers from San Vito, from this little town, right? So they all returned unharmed from the battle, and as a result, they were the ones who pushed for the building of this new church, right? Which is interesting that originally they were building the church, and so it was it was built kind of like on shallow grounds, right? But yeah, they originally they were going to dedicate it to their holy patron, just Saint Vito, and they said, well, no, in honor of this beautiful battle that we've won, they changed the original plans. It's like, no, now we're making it to Our Lady, right? Because she is the protectress of the city of Venice, right? So in 1595, they finished the main part of the church, and they opened it for worship. In 1600, the church was finally entirely completed and called Santa Maria della Vittoria, again, in honor of the events in Lepanto. So that is what we're celebrating today in the Marian world on October 26th. For today's reading from True Devotion to Mary by St. Louis de Montfort, we continue with part 2, entitled On the Most Excellent Devotion to Our Blessed Lady, or the Perfect Consecration to Jesus through Mary. And now we start the second part, which are the motives for perfect consecration. So at point 135, we're going to get the first motive. And this is what the saint says. The first motive, it devotes us entirely to the service of God, which shows us the excellence of this consecration of ourselves to Jesus Christ by the hands of Mary. If we can conceive on earth no employment more lofty than the service of God, if the least servant of God is richer, more powerful, and more noble than all the kings and emperors of this earth, unless they are also servants of God, what must be the riches, the power, and the dignity of the faithful and perfect servant of God, who is devoted to his service entirely and without reserve, to the utmost extent possible? Such is the faithful and loving slave of Jesus and Mary, who has given himself up entirely to the service of that King of Kings by the hands of his Holy Mother, and has reserved nothing for himself. Not all the gold of the earth, nor all the beauties of the heavens can repay him. Point 136. The other congregations, associations, and confraternities erected in honor of Our Lady and His Holy Mother, it says it should be Our Lord and His Holy Mother, do such immense good in Christendom, but they do not give us everything without reserve. They prescribe to their members only certain practices and actions to satisfy their obligations. They leave them free for all of the other actions and times of their lives. But this devotion makes us give to Jesus and Mary, without reserve, all our thoughts, words, actions, and sufferings, all the times of our life, in such sort that whether we wake or sleep, whether we eat or drink, whether we do great actions or very little ones, it is always true to say that whatever we do, even without thinking of it, is by virtue of our offering, at least if it has not been expressly retracted, done for Jesus and Mary. What a consolation is this! Point 137. Moreover, as I have already said, there is no other practice equal to this for enabling us to get rid with facility of a certain proprietorship, which imperceptibly insinuates itself into our best actions. Our good Jesus gives us this great grace in recompense for the heroic and disinterested action of making a cession to him, by the hands of his Holy Mother, of all the value of our good works. If he gives 100-fold even in this world, to those who for his love quit outward and temporal and perishable goods, what will that 100-fold be which he will give to the man who sacrifices for him even his inward and spiritual goods? And then point 138. Jesus, our great friend, has given himself to us without reserve, body and soul, virtues, graces, and merits. Se toto totum me comparavit, said Saint Bernard. He has bought the whole of me by the whole of himself. Is it not then a simple matter of justice and of gratitude, that we should give him all that we can give him? He has been the first to be liberal towards us. Let us at least be the second. And then in life and death, and throughout all eternity, we shall find him still more liberal. Cum liberali liberalis erit, which means like with the generous, you will be generous.
Hello, and we hope that you enjoyed listening to our Marian podcast. In the spirit of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, we say to you that there is no greater delight than to spread the devotion of Our Lady. We hope you share these sentiments and encourage you greatly to share with a loved one. Know that you are always in our prayers, and we ask that you keep us in yours. God bless.